Good morning. We are looking at From the Telegraph to the Internet. This is day 1. Let me share my screen here. So if you watched the last video, we already rated our vocabulary if we know it or we're not sure about it. Okay, so our team cooperation goal this time is called complete tasks. So think about what that might look like or sound like. Well, when you complete tasks, you make sure your work is complete. You check any rubrics to make sure that you're successful and you are sharing those ideas. Okay, we are going to be predicting in our reading still. Our word power is R controlled vowels, and we're going to be writing a summary paragraph. In this cycle, we're going to read from the Telegraph to the Internet by Tanya Jackson. Before we read parts of the text, we will predict what we think we will read about and learn. Good readers make predictions to help them have a purpose for reading and better understand the subject of a text. Okay, when we read informational text like this one, we use the TIGRRS process to help us find all the important facts. The first step of it is that we need to find out the topic of the book. I can do a few things to figure that out. I can read the title, From the Telegraph to the Internet. It looks like the book will be about ways that we communicate with one another. I know that a telegraph is a really old-fashioned way to communicate. People used to get telegrams. I know the internet is a popular way to communicate now. I can also look at the front cover and flip through the pages of the book to see if I can find any more clues about the topic. I see a lot of pictures of things that we use to communicate. I see pictures of telephones, radios, televisions, and cell phones. I think the topic of the book is tools we use to communicate. Now that we know the topic, we can move on to the second step of TIGRRS. This step tells us we need to identify the author's intent. That means we should figure out why the author wrote the book or what they want us to learn from reading the book. When I looked through the pages of this story, I saw a lot of different ways to communicate. Some were really old, and some of them were newer. I think the author's intent is to tell me how the ways people communicate have changed over the years. When we read, we should look for information that tells us about the ways we how communication has changed. When we read informational texts, we use graphic organizers to help us sort the information. So our next step is to identify which organizer we will use as we read. Let me look at the text. I don't see any words telling me to compare or contrast. It doesn't seem like there are a lot of problems or causes and effects either. It seems like the text is full of main ideas and supporting details. So that means that we're going to be using an idea tree. I know the section of the idea tree that says topic is where I'm going to write the topic of the text. The information that we will write in the circles on the idea tree are the main ideas of the text, along with the small lines attached to the circles. I will write the supporting details of the main ideas. When we are finished reading the book, we'll be able to look back at our idea trees and see what the most important information is that we learned throughout the text. Let's look at our vocabulary words. So this is where you're going to be doing day 1 if you're watching this at home. And okay, so let's look at the first word. Says studied. So studied means learned about. In math class, we studied how to add long numbers. And then we have pattern. Pattern means a series, shape, or design. Together, the stars made a heart-shaped pattern in the sky. Inventor, someone who does something in a new way, like the inventor works on new ideas that will change the world. Then we have attached. Attached means connected or hooked. The flag is attached to the flagpole with a rope. Okay, then we have the word instant. Instant means very quick time. My calculator adds long numbers in an instant. It is so fast. Then we have popular. Popular means well-liked, enjoyed by many. Many people loved the book by the popular author. Then we have the word types. Types means kinds or sorts. Like the fruit market sells many types of fruit from around the world. Then we have the word ordinary. Ordinary just means regular or useful. On ordinary days, I ride the bus to school, but on special days, Dad takes me. So you're going to be filling in that column for 1 on your vocabulary sheet to see if you knew them or you still need to work on them. Okay, so making predictions about informational text differs from making predictions in literature. When we read literature, we use what we have read so far about events, places, and characters to predict the future. When we read informational text, we have to look for clues, such as the titles, the headings, or the pictures. Some boldface text or captions and other text features, they're going to help us predict what we will read or learn. Making predictions about reading from informational text is a lot like what we do when we use the TIGRRS process to find a topic. Let's make a prediction. Imagine you're about to go to music class. What activity do you predict you would do there? Okay, and then let's make another prediction. Suppose you heard a fire alarm at school. What do you predict would happen next? The things we predict will either happen or not. In the music class example, you might sing songs, play instruments, or listen to music. In the fire alarm example, you might line up to go outside. On the other hand, if you hear that it's a false alarm, you might stay in your classroom. Whether your predictions happen or not, they are strong guesses because they are supported by experience. Often, when we go to music class, we sing songs or play instruments. When we hear fire alarms, we leave the building. So good readers just make predictions when they read and explain what they know. Okay, let's look at this right here. Oops, this one. Lincoln wins re-election. It says Washington, D.C. Last night, Abraham Lincoln was elected president for the second time. He defeated his rival, General George McClellan. It was not a close election. President Lincoln won almost all the votes. President Lincoln will be sworn into office early the next year. So we look for clues about what we might learn. So I see this as Lincoln wins re-election. So I know that the headlines in newspapers usually tell me what the article is that it's going to be about. So if I were to predict, which I should have done before I read it, the article is going to be about Abraham Lincoln winning his second presidential election. Remember that we should look for clues that help us predict. This article has a headline. That's a type of text feature. Headlines are usually good clues about what I will read in the article. So I just checked to see if my prediction's accurate. I used the headline as a clue to guess what it would be about. And my prediction matched what I learned from the article. I read about how he beat George McClellan to win the re-election. My prediction matched up this time, but it's important to remember that sometimes our predictions might not match what is in the text. Okay, and then I'm going to do another video because this one's going to be too long if I don't stop now.